He played Reptile in the first Mortal Kombat. Sub-Zero on Mortal Kombat Annihilation has been in my personal favorite, China O'Brien. Heatseeker and Beverly Hills Ninja was named Competitor of the Year in Black Belt Magazine and had 5 Grand Champion titles at the U.S. World and U.S. Open Karate Championships. Keith Cook. Give it up for him, guys. I did a lot of research. And this guy, he played none other than Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat 2, 3, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, and the Mortal Kombat Trilogy. He also played in the NHL, the National... What? They said it was on the internet. You know what? He played in the NHL.
It's on the internet. It must be true.
Never listen to the internet, guys. Let me erase that.
I think it also says I'm like 6'8" or something.
It did say you were giant, and I didn't know that was true. Didn't think that was true. It was said you were 97, and that you were 6'9", and that you could bench a truck.
There was another Brian that played Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat 2, and that's who it
Brian Thompson.
That is who it is. Yeah, he played 10 seasons. He was actually really good.
I used to be on Wikipedia, but then it seems like Archie Mann.
That's what happened. I don't like that. Because, I relied on the internet to find things sometimes. And this just goes, you guys, sometimes instead of doing the internet research, what I want you to do is go get a book.
What's a book?
Oh, shit. Now, this next gentleman, I was very excited about. He played Scorpion in Mortal Kombat, was Batman's stunt double in Batman and Robin, which is super cool. Was also in an episode of Buffy, and is still currently filming a bunch of kick-butt action flicks. He was a 4-time national open form champion, a top 5 rated middleweight fighter, had 2 national weapon titles, plus he's a friggin' author too, speaking of books. Please give it up for Chris Casamassa. Thank you guys for coming. So let's get into it. What do you guys think is the best part about being involved in the Mortal Kombat franchises?
I would say it's still popular today.
Yeah?
It's still just popular.
Gotta talk into the mic.
I would say,
You can just pull it up.
I would say the fact that it's still as popular today as it was back then. Just talking to Ed, Ed's a game now is more popular now than it back then.
Isn't that crazy? That's pretty amazing. Mortal Kombat 3 is what the people all agreed is their favorite game, but then also Sub-Zero Mythologies was mentioned. And it's crazy that a game that was made in the 90s is just as popular in 2021, and it's still basically a 2D version instead of a 3D version. It says something great about the design of the game, I would say, for sure. What about you?
Well, I just want to say I'm really proud of the first Mortal Kombat movie. I just think that, every time I come to one of these events, everybody always says that that's their favorite one, including the new one. And so I feel really proud of being in that movie, and I'm really proud of that reptile fight. I feel like it was really well crafted, and just as well as Chris's fight in the first movie too. I think those two that we shot after the fact, there was some kind of, amped up energy about it, and it was just really, it was really cool.
That's awesome.
So I feel proud of it, so.
1, 2. All right, so the best thing about being involved with Mortal Kombat is all of you sitting in the audience, the fans. Because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be sitting up here right now. So I just want to say thank you for being here. I apologize to the people that split earlier, but I appreciate all the support. And the other thing that made it great, back to your reference from the 90s, there are actually 3 people in this room are the reason why the film happened and became great. You have the game creators that are here, Ed Boon and John Tobias, and you have the producer of the first Mortal Kombat film, Larry Kazanoff, who wanted to have the most authentic martial arts recreations in there, so it would do a good homage to the game because he knew how popular the game was. So because of those 3 people is another reason why the film still resonates with people to this day.
100%.
So thank all of you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
John
you.
and Ed and Larry as well. They'll be signing autographs in the back later.
So, was it hard to get the movie made? Do you guys know? You guys over there, do you guys know how hard it was to get the movie made? It was a snap? Not hard? You were like Mortal Kombat and they were like, here's money, go make it?
Everyone said that you can't make a video game by
That's awesome.
Yeah, because if you remember back at that time, two other popular video games came out as movies, and they both didn't do well at the box office. It was Double Dragon and Street Fighter.
Yep.
So when Larry was going, say again? Super Mario.
Oh man, that movie was
Does that
bananas.
count as martial arts? I don't know.
No, it was a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there wasn't that big of expectation, but Larry had a kind of an ace up his sleeve with what his plan was. So when we came out, we were number one at the box office for 4 or 5 weeks straight, which was awesome. And we just kind of blew everyone away.
I went and saw it opening night with my friends, so.
Me too.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, I
awesome.
know that guy.
Now, did you guys, when you guys were filming it, did you guys know that it was going to be something kind of special? While you were doing it, you were like, this is great, or were you just like, I'm at work?
I definitely had a feeling, just, the quality of the sets and just, and I felt like just everybody who was involved had a strong vision. It wasn't just thrown together. I said the word before, well crafted, and I think it was. Everything was, a lot of heart and soul was put into it, and you could see it,
Yeah, that makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard. I mean, I was fanboying out most of the time that I was on set, 'cause I was a huge fan of the video game. My two favorite characters were Raiden and Scorpion, in that order. But now it's different. Now it's Scorpion and Raiden. But
Yeah.
so when we were on the set and I'm looking at all this stuff and just hanging out with the people, with the cast, I was as much of a fan doing it as I was being part of it.
Oh, that's awesome. So another question, I told these guys I was going to ask this question, so I'm going to ask it. Abs. All three of you have them. How do we get them?
Diet.
Okay, see, I was going to tell you, don't tell us diet and don't tell us exercise, because we want the magic trick that gets shredded abs while I still drink cherry Coke.
Okay, they did that for the movie 300. You just paint them on. It's easy. It's easy.
Awesome. But seriously, like, all three of you guys are in great shape, and you guys have worked really hard for all the stuff that you've been doing through your careers. What is it that motivates you and pushes you to do this type of stuff?
Well, you're the buffest one here.
Well, for me, bodybuilding is what got me into the game itself, because I'm not a martial artist like these guys. I just got in the game because of my physique. So it's just something I've done all my life. Go to the gym, eat healthy. 'Cause it's more about what you eat than what you're doing. Most people think you could just do hundreds of sets of abs and get a good physique and have good abs, but that's not the case. You gotta eat well too.
So how do you wake up and be like, I don't want to eat sugar? Because I don't know if you've had sugar. It's
I had, in
friggin'
fact,
delicious.
I had a muffin for lunch today. You can vouch for that.
I witnessed that.
Yeah, and a bunch of fruit. But it's just consistency, eating.
Yeah.
Ate a lot of egg whites, eggs.
Just make a habit out of it.
potatoes. Yeah, it's routine. Every day.
That's,
In the gym every day. So
that is
I'm sure
impressive.
these guys are in the gym every day too. So I'd be interested to learn their routines.
I got motivated. I never wanted to lose to someone because they were in better shape than me.
Uh-huh.
If I lost because somebody was more talented, or they had worked harder than me, they were more talented and couldn't be worked harder, because that was the whole thing. So I just kept it a habit, and it became such a habit for me, is that even after I stopped competing, I just kept staying in shape. And I've always had a martial arts school, as Chris has, and you want to be able to demonstrate stuff well to your students and be a good example. And so I always eat healthy, and I work out every day still. So.
Cool.
Yeah, I actually had a great story about Keith. So when I first started competing on the Pro Tour, Keith was already an established champion. And we were staying at this hotel in Washington, this tournament we were going to, and they put the athletes on a bus to drive them to the tournament. So as we're driving, and it's cold, it's raining, as we're driving, I look out the side of the window and I see this guy running alongside, you know, the bus is passing him, but I see this guy running. I look over at the other guy, I go, who's that? They're, oh, that's Keith. I'm like, Keith, the champion Keith? He's running to the tournament? And I thought, shit, I didn't practice enough. I'm gonna get destroyed today. This guy was running to the tournament. It was like the first time I met him. I was
That's my plan. It psyched everything.
Psyched me right out.
No, but you know, Chris has the same thing, because we're from California, and a lot of times we were competing on the East Coast, and the tournament would start at 9 a.m. Eastern time, that's 6 a.m. our time. And I want to be wide awake, you know, when this thing is happening. I don't want anybody to feel more awake than me. And so I ran every day when I was training, so it wasn't any difference to me to run on the day of competition. So I'd take a run, get well warmed up, make sure I was wide awake,
Nice.
and then I wouldn't have any excuses. You know?
Yeah, so that's my my famous Keith story. But to answer your question, I stay in shape for 2 reasons. One, I have 2 kids who I want to see grow up, have a wonderful life. So I don't want any risk. I want to be in the best shape possible. And like Keith, I believe in leadership by example. We've got a chain of martial arts schools here in Southern California, and I can't tell people, do this, if I'm not doing it myself. So my job is to stay in front and be in the best shape I can be so I can lead from the front.
Man, that is pressure right there.
Yeah.
I just have to wake up and go to a job and tell some jokes to drunk people. Your job sounds way harder.
It's fun. I love what I do.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty cool too. I mean, you look like you are happy, which is, you don't like
Well, that's caffeine.
work. Oh, okay.
That's just caffeine. Caffeine and vodka keeps me happy.
So,
What's up, Scorpion?
we took pictures of them earlier.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a good time. I was basically vamping until you guys showed up. I criticized you because I was like,
Blame
can
my
you believe
agent.
these guys? I do blame your agent. Where's your agent?
I think he's still running down the hallway.
No, it's no big deal. This stuff gets confusing. So, what are some of the funniest moments for when you guys were doing anything for Mortal Kombat, including yourself? You as well. Like when you were doing Shao Kahn, because you had to like do all the movements and stuff, right?
Right. I don't have too many funny stories for that. I think we were doing a movie called a game called War Gods.
Oh, yeah.
I remember they had painted me all up with all the stuff, and then they did all the filming, and they realized that wasn't going to come out, so we had to reshoot the whole scene, and they had to add it back in digitally. So I mean that was one of the more memorable things that I had. But I just remember going there all the time. Just a lot of sitting around, waiting to, you know.
So you guys, if you wanna be in video games, you gotta get good. You gotta get buff like this guy. Then you gotta be cool with sitting around.
And you get to play a lot of video games while you're waiting to shoot the games.
All right. Besides Mortal Kombat, favorite video game?
When I was a kid, probably growing up, I played a lot of Mario Brothers.
Mario Brothers.
I mean,
Nice.
I'm not much of a gamer now, so
Yeah.
the games are crazy different now.
Yeah, 3D.
Before you could just mash buttons. Now it's like you gotta
You gotta look around. Too much. I was telling these guys the first time I played GoldenEye, I just spent like 20 minutes running into a corner. Cause I'm like 45, so I was right in between that age of like moving to 3D to regular stuff. It's totally confused.
Right.
Okay, how about you?
When I was fighting Lyndon up on the platform for the fight scene in Scorpion's Lair, Lyndon wasn't really a trained martial artist. He had a little bit of a crash course, and we're doing the fight scene, and in the middle of it, he hits me, like for real, because it's supposed to all be fake. So he punches me in the head, and being in the martial arts, I'm used to that. So I keep going, all of a sudden he stops. He's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like, dude, I do this for a living. Like, just keep going.
Yeah, just don't hit me a lot.
He was so freaked out that when on the movie poster, he actually signed, he goes, sorry about the punch to your head. So,
That's awesome. Got any funny stories?
Well, it's not really funny. I mean, a lot of people know this, but when I was fighting Liu Kang with the reptile fight, I do this throw on him and he crashes into part of the set, a wall, and he broke 3 of his ribs.
Oh.
And he didn't tell anyone. He just kept going, you know. Obviously, you could see at that moment it hurt, but he's a tough dude, and he kept going.
Have you guys broken a rib before?
Yeah, lots of time.
Bruised. Broke ribs, anybody?
Broken for everybody.
I was a semi-pro rollerblader, not trying to brag. But I broke my rib skating, and I don't know how you could get up and do anything after that. That's a lot of pain. So that dude must be crazy tough. That's awesome. So, how did Mortal Kombat influence what you guys currently do? I mean, obviously, but.
I don't think it did. It didn't influence anything I'm doing now. It
Yeah?
didn't fit in with everything I was doing.
That's kind of cool.
It's a martial arts based video game. I've done a martial arts studio, so it kind of was easier.
And I guess that's
Symmetry.
probably the same with you, with all the
That's
buffness.
what brought us here today. We're here today because of the game. But in terms of, I mean, probably like him, it hasn't really influenced my life, other than being recognized as a character in the game.
It's kind of cool.
Well, I did name my kids Raiden and Sub-Zero. I don't know if that influences anything.
That's what's their middle name?
Hey,
Smith.
Hey.
I actually, you know, it's funny you say that, Chris. Were you at the one, we were at a con, and there was, somebody came and introduced their kid, this is Raiden, you know, and I was like.
I met a Raiden today.
Yeah, I mean, there are people that actually name their kids that were really into the game and the movie, and I was really surprised. You know. But, you know, one of the coolest things is that I get to see Chris. You know?
Yeah.
Aw.
But we don't get to see each other that often. We had a mutual coach for a long time, so we used to see each other a long time ago, and now we see each other at these things. We've been to about 4 or 5 of these events, met a lot of people, you know, who appreciate the work that we've done and stuff, and so we see, you know, we're getting to see Larry, and we don't see each other often, you know, it's pretty cool. It's a good feeling, you know, because normally I'd be teaching right now,
Yeah.
and I remember this morning, I taught one class this morning, a Zoom class, and when I was done, I was like, now I get to go down and have some fun instead of, you know, teaching 5 more classes, you know, so it's just been really, really cool.
That's impressive. So you taught a class, came to the floor,
Yeah.
did stuff on the floor, and now you're here.
Yeah.
I woke up at noon. I ate a sandwich, peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's delicious. And then I came here, and I'm impressed with you guys, your guys' energy and how you. I'm just like, I think I need to get more motivated, guys. I think I'm gonna start getting up in the morning. You know what? I'm gonna start jogging you know what? I'm gonna jog to the gym.
There you go. That's the move right there. I'm telling you.
I like
We'll do
it. So, all you guys out here, most of you kind of know some of these guys, right? But do you know some of the stories of how they got started? How they got into it? Let's go through some of that. How did you guys end up doing this? Maybe tell the little bit of the story of how you guys got into this.
Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, Mortal Kombat.
Well, I auditioned for the part of Liu Kang, and I didn't get it. And but my friend Robin got the part, and they had shot the whole movie. And he calls me up one day, Keith, we need some more action. Can you come fight me? I was like, yeah, let's go.
That's
You know,
awesome.
and so it was one of those kind of fluky things where it just came out of the blue. I wasn't expecting it. It came out of nowhere. Didn't audition or anything. And we just went for it. But we had known each other since about 1981.
Okay.
So we were good friends. Our instructors, our martial arts instructors knew each other. And so we had trained together. And we went to China together way back in the day. So
Okay.
it was pretty cool.
So did you? I mean, because you've done martial arts since you were like a kid, right?
Yeah.
So how did you move into doing movies?
Well, I think a lot of martial artists have a dream of becoming, you know, an actor or being in movies because a lot of our mentors are from there. Like Bruce Lee was, you know, oh yeah.
That's my
I mean,
idol.
Yeah, he's huge. You know, I think, you know, I would call him a martial artist who, you know, he might have started out as a kid actor, but I think he actually became a martial artist. He was really and he was a brilliant guy. He died when he was 33, but he was brilliant. He thought a lot about what it means to be a martial artist. And he was a huge inspiration to so many people, but he was a huge inspiration to me when I wanted to do Kung Fu because Bruce Lee. And then of course there's Chuck Norris, John Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal. You know, you kind of go on about it, and so I think that's why people get into it. And when I grew up in Seattle, and I moved down here in 1985, and I got a break on the China O'Brien movie when the producer of Inside Kung Fu Magazine, who I'd done a lot of work with, just recommended me to the producer, who was also produced Enter the Dragon. So China O'Brien was directed by the director of Enter the Dragon, and it was produced by the producer of Enter the Dragon. And so when this guy calls me on the phone, Fred Weintraub, you know, I was a big Bruce Lee fan. Enter the Dragon was my favorite movie, and he says, "Hey Keith, this is Fred Weintraub," and I was like, "Yeah, who is this?" Fred Weintraub, yeah, Fred Weintraub from Enter the Dragon, right? Yes, this is. You know, and it was really cool because, you know, as soon as I was convinced that this was actually Fred Weintraub that I was talking to, I was just blown away, you know. And he says, "I want you to come over to my office right now. I heard you might be good for this part in our film, and come over right now." And it turned out he was only about a mile away from where I lived. And so I said, "Look,
So you jogged
I just
there.
worked out because, you know, I work out every morning." And I said, "I'll take a shower and I'll be right over." No, and he says, "Come over right now." And so I had Kung Fu pants on and everything. I was ready. I went over there and we sat down, and he goes, "Keith, I hear you do martial arts." And "You want to see something?" You know, I was so pumped up and so ready. I've had some really fun auditions. You know, I don't want to talk about it too much, but I get really charged up on an audition.
That's awesome. Cool.
He,
Yes.
just so you know, for the rest of your life, it was really Steve Fisher who got your call.
Really?
Robin suggested it was Steve who talked you up to me every time I went to training.
That was our mutual coach, and you know, what a great guy. And, you know, he had a blood and guts studio down in Hawthorne, Los Angeles area, and I needed some place to train when I first moved down here from Seattle. I had really great training partners. I was really lucky to have really good people to train with, fighters, lots of fighters. And Steve Fisher's studio was like a mecca for fighters. If you wanted to get your ass kicked, go down there. My first night, I fought, what was his name? He was 6'5".
What?
Yeah.
They made you fight a guy who was 6'5"?
Oh yeah. And we were going. I mean, I was holding my own, and then he caught me with a punch right here, like full on hard right hand, straight right, and I was bleeding out of both nostrils, and I ran into the bathroom, you know, and Steve said, you know, because I didn't know him yet, you know, didn't get to know Steve yet. He goes, "Yeah, he's a sissy kung fu guy, you know, he's gonna go home crying." And I came out with toilet paper jammed up my nose and just went right back in the match, you know. And I did all right, you know, but I kept going back every Wednesday night for that, and for years.
Okay.
And I think that's where we first started training together. Yeah.
Cool. And
Thanks, Larry.
and how did you get started in bodybuilding?
Bodybuilding?
Yeah.
Actually, I was a baseball player throughout, played baseball since I was from 7 to 17. I got in a car accident, so that's when I started lifting weights. And I started competing, did a lot of competitions, won like a natural world bodybuilding championship, won the collegiate nationals. And then I met Jax in the gym,
Okay.
and that the person who played Jax, and he said they were looking for someone to play a character in the game, in some video game. I didn't know the game. And so I went to John's office, Tobias, and that was pretty much it. My story is a little bit of a letdown from his story.
Not at all,
It's
man.
Just, it was as simple as that, just.
Look, I mean,
Yeah.
you're making it sound, you're making it sound simple, but it isn't simple. You spent 10 years lifting weights, getting super buff, and then that paid off, your hard work paid off to play
Well,
iconic character.
Right, yeah. I mean, it was just a matter of meeting Jax in the gym that we were both working out at, and he introduced me to John, and then it was pretty simple after that.
That's awesome. How about you?
I'm sorry, it's been so long, I forgot the question.
How did you end up being in, how did you get to Mortal Kombat?
Keith can talk,
You
man.
can, it was great.
Well, I'm sorry, what?
It was great, then I didn't have
Where
to tell
are we?
you.
Who are you?
I'm Ron.
How did I get here? Ron, how did I get involved with Mortal Kombat?
Yeah.
I heard there were auditions. I originally went down to audition in part of the background because I worked on some small films but nothing major. So I went down there and I was just in the right place at the right time. I had some people whispering in other people's ears about me, but they had the first audition set up like a tournament. And I had just come off the tournament circuit, so it was kind of played right into my hand, and I just did my best stuff. The right people just happened to walk by, and I ended up coming back a couple times, and I thought, oh, it's really hard to get into a major motion picture. I had no idea, because when I went there, they said all the roles are cast. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I was at, like, the part where Goro's fighting and there's background fighters cheering. I was just trying to do that. I'm like, cool. Like Keith, I was inspired by Bruce Lee, and I'm like, I want to get in the movies. I did the tournament thing. So it comes down to I think the second or third time I went back, and there's just me and two other guys. And they take the camera and they're filming us. And then the director walked over and goes, would you guys mind taking off your shirt? And this is where I'm a little bit of a smart ass, so. And I didn't know it was the director, I didn't know who it was. So he goes, you want to take off your shirt? And I go, well, if it'll get me in the movie, I'll go back to your trailer. That's the reaction I was hoping for. But his face,
No.
nothing. And I go, whatever this is, I'm not in it. I go, whatever. I just ruined it really for myself. So then it was ended up being the director, the producer, and the fight coordinator went in like this little football huddle, and they came out a couple minutes later, and Paul Anderson, who was the director, shook my hand and said, hey, welcome to Mortal Kombat, you're going to be Scorpion. And until that moment, like, I had no idea. And it was great because I went home and I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, I'm gonna be Scorpion. She goes, that's great, honey. What's a scorpion? So
That's so cool.
that's it.
And then you've been doing training in martial arts since you were a kid as well.
Yeah, I started when I was 4 years old.
Yeah.
My dad is the founder of our system and style of martial arts. So my dad was my first hero and still my hero to this day. An amazing martial artist. He has black belts in 10 different styles of martial arts. Yeah, so he was my hero, and you know, I wanted to be like my dad when I was growing up. So yeah, since I don't remember wearing a diaper, I just remember wearing a martial arts uniform.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And at some point you made the same transition, I assume, as Keith, when you wanted to move into movies. Was it the same type of thing, or?
Yeah, I always wanted to try and do, and that's where I got my start on like little things like Revenge of the Ninja, Sword of Heaven, like little bit parts here and there. And you get bit by that bug, the same way I got bit by the competition bug, and then we just tried to scale it up.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I'd like to open it up, because we've got about 10 minutes, to questions.
Oh, then don't ask Keith anything. I'm sorry.
We only have
Was I on
10
mic?
minutes.
Was that on mic? I'm sorry. I apologize.
That was great, though. Anybody have questions? You don't have to be scared.
Oh, one at a time. One at a time.
One at a time.
Settle down.
Yeah, go ahead.
How did you know that you were going to be in Mortal Kombat TV show?
Well, the people who put together the movie also put together the TV show. So Larry has been great to me over the years, and we developed a pretty good working relationship. Like Steve Fisher, who trained Keith and I, also started training Larry as well. And when they did the TV show, you know, Larry called me up and said, "Hey, want to go to Florida?" And I'm like, "Yes." So it just kind of worked out that way. Yeah, actually though, he did make me come in and audition, which was funny. I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." So I actually had to audition for it as well. For Warner Brothers, yeah.
So actually, I do have another question, actually. What was your favorite fight scene to film?
In Mortal Kombat?
Yeah.
Really, you're asking me that?
Yeah. I mean, I think I already know.
Yeah. I think we.
Well, actually, actually,
It was the
another
Liu
question.
Kang reptile fight.
Both of you guys have done
You have to wait for the setup.
Yeah. Both of you guys have done stunt work too, on top of that, right?
Mhm.
Did you ever, do you have any entertaining stories about people who didn't know how to fight that you had to make look like they knew how to fight? That you can tell?
No.
Well,
Keith can.
no, I was just thinking, you know, like I trained Zoe Saldana, you know who that is?
Yeah.
To get ready for Avatar. So
Yeah.
I trained for 6 months at my studio.
Oh, wow.
And she was, not only is she a beautiful girl, she's very athletic. She was like a prima ballerina, and she kicked some ass. So anyway, and then I trained,
I'm sorry, that guy fell asleep. You gotta say it. Go on.
I trained the girl for Alita, Battle Angel.
What?
Yeah.
That is great.
And I trained Chris Farley
For Beverly Hills?
Yeah, Beverly Hills Ninja. I trained
Oh my
Chris
God.
Farley. Yeah. That was a little different than Zoe. But, yeah.
How much cocaine was he on? I'm just kidding. You don't need to tell me that. All right, cool. Anybody else? Yes, question.
Did you guys watch the new Mortal Kombat movie that just came out?
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, we saw it.
Did you guys enjoy the movie or?
The first 8 minutes are awesome.
That's so funny. Everybody totally agrees.
No, it was good. Listen, I wish there was more Scorpion. I'm a little biased, but
It was rated R, right? It wasn't rated R?
Yeah.
So I wasn't allowed to see it. No, it was.
They think, yeah,
it
you
was-
look young, man. Do people card you when you go into?
Yeah. No, what I was gonna say is, I felt like they had an advantage over, you know, they could get so violent, you know, and I loved that opening sequence, the opening fight scene. I just thought it was, I was like, wow, is this gonna be what the whole movie is like? And I was like, this is blowing me away, you know. And then it didn't really, I didn't feel like it held up as well as the first one.
Well, what I find impressive about the first Mortal Kombat movie, I went and rewatched when I heard that I was going to be moderating the panel, and it was like, this is still great. Like,
thank you.
no, really, it is. Like, the fight scenes are sick, and it still looks really good. Like, it's very impressive that a movie from what, 1995, am I remembering correctly?
95.
95, and it's 2021, and it's still just as good as any of the martial arts movies that I've been watching in the last probably like 5 or 10 years, for sure.
Yeah, if we had the ability to do what they did on this movie, we could do that, like remake the first one with today's technology, we just crush.
I think you guys should do that. Hey, who has a bunch of money?
This
You-
guy in
this
the
guy.
Rams coat,
He has a-
he's sitting on
Do you
a lot
have
of paper.
$500 million? No. I got $1,000. Is that?
That's a start. We'll start a Kickstarter. GoFundMe for the next,
I love
the
it.
reboot.
Well, what are you guys doing now? Would you guys like to talk about anything that you're doing that so people can come check out? Do you have any booths to this at Comic-Con this year?
Yeah, we've got a booth, we're in aisle 200, so please come by, say hi, or yell at us. It doesn't matter, we don't care, just come visit. We're right there. The three of us are hanging out in the booth, we're here all weekend,
Awesome.
so we're doing that.
I'd like to see Reptile fight Scorpion.
Yeah, I try to get them to
Right
do it.
now.
Right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. It turns out that that's illegal.
Oh.
I
Yeah.
think Scorpion's back asleep.
He's
Or
texting.
texting,
He's
right.
texting he's texting his lady, Mrs. Scorpion. So okay, great.
And yeah, one of the, I'm traveling all over the United States teaching bully prevention seminars. You mentioned I was an author, so I wrote 2 books. They were bestsellers on bully prevention because there's so many kids that get picked on and bullied. Like 160,000 kids will miss school next week because of bullying, right? So my goal is to help 1 million kids become bully-proof and fit by 2025. Right now, I've trained and taught and coached about 69,000 kids. So I go all over to martial arts schools, public schools, churches, rec centers, wherever I can go, teaching this clinic. It's basically an empowerment clinic that the kids can go through. And it's twofold. One, if they're being bullied, I teach them what to do, what to say, what not to do. And it's really not about martial arts, but really about knowledge. And then the other thing is when I'm teaching, I can see the kids in the audience who are on the path to becoming bullies. So I help them course correct so they can go from being a super bully into a superhero. So thank you. It's really
Seriously,
kind of my passion project right now.
you are at the right place for this. My last name is Swallow, and I read fantasy books. You want to talk about bullying?
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, listen, like I said, I have kids, but kids are evil little bastards. They really, just because they have no filter and they don't
Yeah.
know any better, and so I'm out there trying to help put some right in the world.
I really appreciate it. Thank you. So he has a website as well, chriscasamassa.com.
That's it.
So go check that out.
Good luck spelling my name.
Yeah, CASAMASSA.
My man,
I read.
look at that.
Keith, doing anything?
I'm working on a fitness project for golfers. Are there any golfers here?
I golf. I'm terrible at it.
Yeah, well, you see, that's one of the things is like if you didn't grow up playing like a rotational sport, and then suddenly you've got to drive the ball. It's hard enough just to hit the ball and then to hit it straight, but while you're thinking about driving with your hips and the rotation, so it's a fitness product that really develops your ability to rotate with good balance and posture. So hopefully you'll see it out there very soon.
Awesome.
Me, I have a business in Las Vegas unrelated to this field. It's in the legal business, and then I trained with former Mr. Olympia Jay Cutler for a few years, and we have an online training site. It's called trainedbyjay.com. But most of the training is done by myself, so check that out.
That's awesome. So give it up for him, guys. Thank you for coming out to the Comic-Con and the Mortal Kombat reunion panel. Please go check these guys out in aisle 200. All right, guys?
That's it.
And also, if you want to take pictures or talk to them right now, I'm sure you could probably do that, right?
Yes, sure.
All right.
Hey, once again, thank you guys all. I really appreciate you coming out. It is so awesome. Like I said in the beginning, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, so I appreciate it. But let's give a big shout out to Ed and John and Larry.